everyone, my name is Leanne and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about some of the physical books that I've acquired recently. Kick things off with the two poetry books I have, the first of which is City Psalms by Benjamin Zephaniah. I love this poet, he's one of my faves. I've read a few of his collections before and I've really loved them. This is his fourth collection of poems. Zephaniah was born in Birmingham in 1958 and I always think he's so much younger than he is. He grew up in Jamaica and Handsworth, and in his youth he was sent to a school specifically for like rebellious, uncontrollable teens, and he ended up in jail for burglary. When he came out of jail, he turned to music and art and poetry, and has since gone on to be a master of both written and oral poetry. As I said, I have always loved his work, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. The next poetry book I have is Birthday Letters by Ted Hughes. I absolutely love these Faber and Faber editions of poetry collections. I have very mixed feelings on Ted Hughes. I'm a massive Sylvia Plath fan, so I do have quite a considerable degree of animosity towards him as a person, but from the poetry I've read from him in the past, I think I will really get on with his work. So I'm hoping I can separate my thoughts on the relationship between those two poets and enjoy this for the work itself. However, this collection is addressed to Sylvia Plath, like all but two of the poems are to her or about her, but I thought it was about time I actually sampled a considerable amount of his work. Turns out I have another poetry book as well. I have selected poems from W.H. Auden, again in the beautiful Faber and Faber edition. I read a little bit of Auden in school, only sort of the really big ones that a lot of people know, like Funeral Blues, but I really enjoyed his work. I think he's a fascinating figure as well. This is quite a chunky one, so I think I'm going to gradually work my way through this and delve into some more of Auden's work. Next, I have some classics to talk about. I do have a massive classics haul coming up, made up exclusively of Penguin English Library books. Because these are from different editions and stuff, I thought I would include them here rather than the classics haul and just devote that one to the Penguin English Library books. The first of these I'm going to tell you about is a Penguin cloth-bound poetry, which are just a series of books that I'm so excited that exist. And that is Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This was sent to me by Iris and I will leave her channel linked down below. I was so excited when this arrived in the post. I had literally tweeted about these editions a couple days before it arrived. Iris also sent me a really nice note and she included some really fabulous notebooks as well, so thank you so much. But yeah, these are the Lyrical Ballads of William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I didn't really get on with Wordsworth in the past, so I'm really looking forward to giving him another shot. My relationship with Coleridge is a lot more interesting. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is in this, was the very first thing I studied at university. I think it was just a brilliant text to use to introduce students to higher education in English literature. And obviously that text is something that everyone that goes through the same English degree as me, it's the first thing that they encounter. And I guess it's kind of like a really bonding text in that sense. What I've done with a lot of my university books is sell them on in the hopes that one day I will be able to pick up a slightly nicer edition, and this was just the perfect thing to arrive. I think it's going to be really nice to revisit, particularly the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, seeing as I've just finished university. It just came at a really appropriate time where I was feeling really nostalgic about uni. Yes, very excited about this one and it is so beautiful. The next book I want to talk about is Esther Waters by George Moore. By the time this video goes up, I may have already wrapped up my thoughts on this because I did read it for Victober, so I won't talk about it too much here. But this follows the life and career of Esther Waters. It follows her journey of social mobility, it follows her journey into motherhood, and it is a surprisingly, feminist text. Lots of really strong female friendships in this, which I really appreciated. There's also a lot of criticism in it on gambling and horse riding. Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by this one. The final classic I'm going to talk about today is a bind-up of 3 stories by 2 writers. We have Mary Wollstonecraft's Mary and Maria, and Mary Shelley's Matilda. Mary Wollstonecraft you may know for the Vindication of the Rights of Women, and Mary Shelley, of course, for Frankenstein. And they were mother and daughter. These are powerful and emotive stories with feminist messages. Mary tells the story of a woman who leaves her young husband in order to care for her friend Anne. Maria tells the story of a woman who seeks consolation in the arms of a man after the loss of her child. And Matilda tells the story of a young woman who is alienated from society due to the incestuous passion of her father. I am so looking forward to reading all three of these. Two slightly more modern classics, I have Stoner by John Williams. I've heard so many good things about this book, but I'm not really sure what it's about. I think it's kind of about just the life of this one man, William Stoner. He goes to the University of Missouri aged 19 to study agriculture. He then goes on to become a teacher. He marries the wrong woman and lives a very quiet life. And after his death, he is rarely remembered. But I've heard incredible things about this book, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what more there is to it. One of my favourite books of all time is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I already own a different edition of this book, but I saw this one and just couldn't resist it. I'm sure you all know what The Handmaid's Tale is about. It is a dystopian society in which fertile women are forced to be handmaids and go through pregnancies and births in order to provide wealthy families with a child. I'm not going to talk about this one anymore because I'm sure you know what it's all about. Next up is one I'm super excited for, and that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I absolutely loved her first novel. I read it earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. There were so many elements to that book that I really adored. Set in a suburban town called Shaker Heights, which is actually where the author is from. Nothing really that exciting or unusual goes on in this town. It is very sort of by the rules and plain, and the Richardson family really embody that. But when enigmatic artist and single mother Mia arrives, along with her teenage daughter Pearl, the four Richardson children are really drawn to the pair. But Mia carries with her a mysterious past, and her disregard for the rules is going to shake up and threaten this carefully ordered community. In this book, we also see family friends of the Richardson adopt a Chinese-American baby, and a custody battle disrupts the town, causing Mia and Eleanor Richardson to be on opposing sides of the debate. Eleanor is determined to find out the secrets in Mia's past, but at what cost will she find these secrets out? I'm just so ready for this. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize and I was really surprised that it didn't make the shortlist. From what I had heard about this book, it was the book that I was most confident would make it onto the shortlist. So this is about a character named Cora who is a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. Another slave named Caesar tells her about the Underground Railroad, and Cora makes the decision to accompany him on his escape to the north. I think this book also has some like magical realism elements to it as well. And even though it didn't make it onto the Man Booker shortlist, it has also received so many other amazing accolades. It won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, and I think it also won the Hugo Award, which is why I think there are some kind of like sci-fi-ish elements to it. I've heard nothing but good things about this one, so I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, I have Always with Love by Giovanna Fletcher. I love Giovanna Fletcher's YouTube channel. She writes kind of like contemporary women's fiction, which I don't read that much, but whenever I have, I've really enjoyed it. Just really nice, like, easy reads. But I've never actually read any of Giovanna's books, despite owning two of them. I have Billy and Me and You're the One That I Want, and this book is the sequel to Billy and Me. So before I get to this one, I should probably read that one. Next, I have some YA and children's books. The first of those is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I already have this one on ebook. I read it for the booktubeathon, so if you want to hear any of my thoughts on that, I will leave my booktubeathon wrap up down below. But this is a Black Lives Matter book, and I loved it so much that I wanted to pick up a physical copy. This is about a 16-year-old girl named Star, whose friend is unjustifiably shot by the police. This book follows the aftermath of that. It follows Star's journey into activism. It looks at her relationship with race, and how that intersects with all elements of teenage life, how it intersects with her friendships, her romantic relationships, how it intersects with her education. This is an incredible book and I would urge everyone to read it. I also have another political YA book, and that is Here I Stand, Stories That Speak for Freedom. This is published by Amnesty International and is a collection of short stories and poems by various different writers. Some of the names I'm most interested in are Jackie Kay, Frances Hardinge, Neil Gaiman, but there are so many more in here. This collection follows fighting for freedom and fighting for your rights in various different forms, and I've heard really good things about this. I'm really into like political YA fiction, and I think YA fiction is doing a phenomenal job of talking about important issues. The next book I'm going to talk about is Sweet Freak by Sophie Mackenzie. I've not heard too many people talking about this book, so let me know if you read it and you had any thoughts. But I believe this is a book that has a lot to do with cyberbullying. It looks at two best friends, Carrie and Amelia. Amelia begins to be trolled by someone whose name is Sweet Freak. Carrie is accused of being the person behind the hateful comments. As I said, I've not heard too many things about this one, so let me know if you have any thoughts down below. Next up I have I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This book was recommended to me not too long ago for a book that included letter writing in its format, because that's something I'm really interested in, like incorporating different mediums of writing into a novel. I think this is about Jude and her twin brother Noah, who are incredibly close until a tragedy drives them apart. It also follows them both falling for boys that they can't have. I absolutely love the cover for this one as well. The next book I'm going to talk about is A Place Called Perfect by Helena Duggan. I spoke about Giovanna Fletcher earlier, and this book has been included in her husband Tom Fletcher's book club for W.H. Smiths. So this is about a very strange town where people need to wear glasses to stop themselves from going blind. It is also a town that is always neat and tidy and well behaved. Our protagonist in this book is a character named Violet who realizes that something really strange is going on in this town. She keeps hearing voices. Her mom is acting strange, and I really appreciate the use of ma'am, not mum. And her dad has disappeared. When she meets a character who is just called Boy, she realizes her dad is not the only one who has vanished. And the Watchers are keeping a very interesting secret. On the front cover for this, there are loads of like flowers with eyes in them, so that sounds like really creepy. I'm really looking forward to this one. Finally, I have a children's classic, and I have the Puffin edition of Heidi by Joanna Spyri. I've never read Heidi before, but I absolutely love these Puffin Classics edition of children's classics. This is about Heidi, who at the age of 5 was sent to live with her grandfather in the Alps. She absolutely adores her life there, and she adores her grandfather. But one terrible day, Heidi is collected by her aunt and sent to live with a new family. Heidi cannot bear to be away from her grandfather, and this follows her on her journey to get back to him and back to her life in the Alps. This one sounds super cute, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, they are all the books that I'm going to talk about today. I am trying to buy less physical books, and I know I've said that quite a lot. But since starting work and like getting some paychecks in, I have been splurging quite a bit, and you will see that when it gets to my classics haul. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.